the rad valve popped off the tail. Like literally just went black water everywhere. Right, so today we're back here at this property. You guys might remember this job from a few months ago. I came in, I think it was December, January, where the customer had a problem with one of the radiators not heating up, and I opted to do a mains flush at the time and managed to clear that blockage. We saw a lot of dirt coming out of the system, but we've now been booked in to come back to do a power flush today. So it's the old glowworm boiler, so heat line boiler, which is basically a glowworm. What I've done is on Monday, so today's Friday, on Monday I came and I pre-dosed the system with some cleaning chemical. So that's been circulating around for a week already. I've now just drained whatever water was inside the boiler straight into the power flush machine. I've also filled it up via the filling loop, and now I'm going to cut in 2 T's here. So obviously there's a T here for the filling loop side, but I'm going to have to cut in another T probably down there and cutting a T on the flow. So we've got 2 flushing points there, and stick the power flush machine straight onto there. Isolate the boiler because it's got the aluminium heat exchanger, so I don't want to flush through that, and I just want to make sure that we get the system nice and clean. So there's 5 radiators here, so it shouldn't be too long of a flush, but it all depends on how dirty the system is. So boiler's been drained out. I'm going to get the power flush, it's filled up. I'm going to get it connected, get that heating up, cutting my 2 T's here, and then hopefully by the time I've done that, that should be hot enough, and then we can start getting the flush going. Right, slight change of plan. Where I was initially looking to cut the T's in there, it is very tight in there, so following the pipes down, underneath here, you can see, got loads of room. So the flows and returns are already on push fits there, so rather than having to cut in 2 T's, I'm just going to disconnect. Well, that looks properly butted up. I'm not going to touch that, but I'll probably disconnect one of the 2 elbows on each side, and then I can get my power flush connection straight onto there. And I've got more room down here as well, a bit more play as well. So that saves me having to faff around underneath the boiler there, because that is very tight, and they've got 2 sets of clips, so it's pinned right back to the wall. So this will be easier for me to get the power flush connections on, so I'll do that. And also I need to turn the mains off because I've got a tap cartridge to change upstairs as well, so I can do that in the meantime as well. So yeah, machine is at about 40 degrees now, so it's getting hot. So in the meantime, I'm just going to disconnect these, get the hoses connected, and then off we go. Okay, so underneath here, I've disconnected the flow, disconnected the return off of these push fits, which was a ball ache in itself, because obviously these push fits have been in for so long, they've just not been touched, so it was all pretty dry in there. So I managed to get the push fit elbows off, that one's off there. Power flush machine is going straight onto the 20-volt primaries. We're up to temperature, so let's flick it on. Let's check. Yeah, not getting any leaks anywhere. No, it's all looking all right. Check the level of the water. Yeah, water level's fine. Right, I'm going to bleed these 2 canisters. And where I've already had this pre-dose for a week, I don't need to let it run for a full hour. I'm going to start circulating the rads individually now. So let's get to it. Okay, so I've only had this running literally a couple of minutes, but yeah, still a lot of dirt in the system that needs clearing out. So now I'm going to start isolating the rads, agitating them, and try and get as much dirt out of this system as possible, so that by the time winter comes around again, they should have any problems with it. What I don't want to do though is I'm deliberately not flushing through the boiler, because they haven't said that they've had any problems with the boiler itself. And also it's an aluminium heat exchanger and the waterways are very thin, so the last thing I want to do is flush through that and cause a blockage in there or cause further damage. So I'm not flushing through the boiler deliberately, but I am flushing the rest of the system, and hopefully that will clear it up. And hopefully the chemical that I put in on Monday would have circulated through. Obviously they've been running I've told them to run the heating half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, so hopefully it's broken up any debris or deposits that were inside the main heat exchanger and moved it along. So whatever's in there should hopefully be very minimal. especially after I've dosed it with inhibitor. That should help sort the problems out. But let's see how we get on with this flush. Okay, so first rad's done, and this is the second one. Now, I always like to get the thermal imaging camera out as well, because you can see where we've got cold spots and where we've got hot spots. So obviously, this is the thermal Powerflush machine as well, so it heats up the water as it goes through, which is a great indicator that it is actually doing its job and flushing through the radiator, because you can see the heat coming into it. So let's get this one agitated. That first one was dirty. That water's gone a lot more darker. I'm going to agitate this one, get some more dirt out of it, shift it into the Powerflush machine, and then hopefully we should have a nice clean system by the end of it. Now some of you might be asking, why am I still using a rubber mallet? Why don't I use the SDS attachment? I do have the SDS attachment, but I've had a very bad experience with it. So on a gravity system that I converted, I think it was a year ago or so, Powerflushing the system using the SDS and agitating the radiator across the bottom, and no word of a lie, the rad valve popped off the tail. Like literally just went black water everywhere. Luckily it was the one room that was still being redecorated, because the whole house they were basically refurbing it, and that one was still being redecorated, so it didn't matter. But I had black water go from one end of the room all the way to the other, because imagine the force of that Powerflush machine. It's moving all that water around, and that's popped off, and it's literally luckily I was working with someone, so I got firstly, there's so much water I couldn't even see where it was coming from, and once I found it, I just put my thumb over it, called out to my mate who was working with me, which was a struggle because the Powerflush machine was running, so he couldn't hear me. So I'm like shouting. I'm like, Sam, turn the machine off. He's turned it off. We've come back. I've quickly whipped it back on, tightened up the nut. Yeah, nightmare. I had black water all over me, all over the ceilings, all over the walls. So ever since then, just sticking to rubber mallet. Right, let's have a look at these magnets. Let's see how bad. Oh wow, for 5 radiators that is a lot of dirt. Definitely needed a power flush. Coming out, do you want to have a look at this, Tony? This is all the dirt that's been picked up. So you see the 2 metal rods? That's the magnets. So I'll show you in a moment when I clean up. So those are the 2 magnets. All this black stuff you can see around it is all the dirt, and that's only 5 radiators. I expect this much dirt to come out of a system which has maybe got 8 to 10 radiators. So yeah, so you know when you said that when they fit the new boiler that they power flushed it, they didn't, because they were. I wouldn't expect anywhere close to this much dirt. If it had. Supposed to be friends. Oh really? Well, I mean, we saw how much of a bodge they've done with the other bits, so I'm not surprised that they said to you they power flushed it, but they was friends of my oldest granddaughter's. Yeah. She said if she can get hold of them, she'll kill them. Yeah. Well, I definitely have a strong word with them, but you're in good hands now. Yeah. So now it's been cleaned. So this is the first part of the process. Now I'm going to clean this off, and then the next part is I go back to all the radiators, but then we flush it with cold water. Yeah. Let me just turn that off. Flush it with cold water. So any remaining dirt that's in there now, I'm going to flush it all back out. So you know last time how I did it, and you can see all the black water coming out. Yeah. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to connect this long hose onto here, and then now the machine's going to push all the remaining dirty water out into the drain until the water runs clear. No, that's long enough. So I'm going to try and run it round. Worst case, I'll pop out the window. But yeah, the next part of it is to basically flush it with fresh water until all the water runs clear coming out the hoses, and then I'll be satisfied that it's all done. So yeah, it's getting there. That's all right. So just dumping the system now. You can see water's fairly murky. Now I always use this turbidity tube, so this one's actually a bit cloudy itself, but if we check that now, there's no way you're going to see the X at the bottom. It's all gone murky. So wait for that, keep that flushing, wait for it to clear up, test it again. Once you can see the X at the bottom, I know that I can move on to the next radiator. The good thing at this property is that that flow rate is excellent. Like it's filling faster than it's dumping. In fact, I'll probably need to go and check, make sure it's not overflowing. And I think they've undersized the boiler here, because they've only put in a 24 kilowatt combi. With the flow rate that they've got, they could have easily got away with a 30, no problem. And there's a new gas run as well, so I don't know why they're putting a 24 over a 30. But you heard the previous conversation that we had with the customer. Apparently it was a friend of the family. They said they'd done certain stuff. I actually came here a while ago and the thermostat receiver box was left inside the boiler. So they hadn't even wired up the thermostat. They hadn't wired the receiver box in or anything. And they just told them to basically, they left the link in and told the customers to turn the heating on and off from the time switch on the front. I don't get it. I don't get it. If you're charging good money, do the job properly. You know, I've now got this customer for life. I've been doing a lot of work for them. I actually don't know how they found me, but they put the trust in me because I've shown them that I do what they're paying me to do, and they just keep calling me back for more work. So it is what it is. Do a good job, get recommended, carry on getting further work. But in the meantime, just gonna wait for that to clear up. That is still taking a little while. So once that's clear, we can move on to the next one. That's rad number 2 of 5. Check that out. That's one of the upstairs radiators. That's actually clearing up a bit because I already had it flushing. So one of the lock shields I thought was open, but it was jammed. Like it was only open a little bit. Got the big grips on it. I've cracked it open, and now all of that dirt's come out of it. So yeah, it's definitely, Powerflush is definitely doing its job. So that's round 2 of the magnets. So that's as I was dumping. Now this is what I would normally expect out of a 5 rad system. If it's been, maybe if it's not had a Powerflush, but I wouldn't expect as much dirt that I picked up the first time around. But this is still on the second pass. So now all the radiators have been flushed, everything's been cleaned. So I'm gonna clean these magnets off. Get that there. So we'll clean these magnets off and then fill up the heating system. I need to put all the pipework back together as well, the flow and return connections, and then test everything. I've also got a tap cartridge to change in the basin upstairs, which hopefully shouldn't be too bad. I've ordered them from Bristan. So Bristan do this thing now where if you send them a picture of the tap that you've got, now this might be well known to you guys who do more who do a lot of taps and stuff like that. I don't, so this was new to me and I thought it was really good. So I called Bristan, told them, look, these are the taps that I've got. They sent me this text with a link on it while I was on the phone to them, and I uploaded the pictures of the tap while I was on the phone to them. They identified which tap it was, found the cartridge, gave me the price of the cartridge. Next day delivery, cartridges were at mine, and now they're here for me to change over. So yeah, I thought that was quite handy of them. So I'll get that done after I packed up the Powerflush machine and obviously got the heating all up and running as well. So usually either a 2.5 or 3 door. Let's see. Alright, let's try these bad boys. Obviously, I'm not worried about this cartridge getting mashed up because it's coming out. So normally I would try and use the flat jawed ones, but I just need to get this cartridge out. The trouble is, it sits quite deep in there, so damn, that's really tight.
Right, flush is done. So just checking the rads. That one's nice and hot. That one is coming through. All right. Let's head upstairs. Lovely. And that one, it's all good. And so is that one. So this one and this one, they actually have off, and I think the one by the dining room table as well. So that will help that big one in the living room get hot as well, which is behind the sofa, because that one's usually the last one to get hot. So I'm going to turn off these ones, and that should push the heat quicker to that downstairs rad. I am struggling with getting that cartridge out. I've even tried Stilson's on it. It's not budging. I've sucked in WD-40. It's not budging. I'm going to go home. I've got a Halford socket set with some deep sockets. I'm going to try those out, and hopefully I can use one of them sockets to free that up, because I can't get it out for love nor money at the moment. So I'll keep you guys posted. Back here, Halford's socket set, 17mm deep socket. Got it. Finally. That took absolutely ages to try and get out. But I've had this socket set, God knows how many years, for about 10 years. This is the Halford's 300-piece socket set. So when I used to do a bit of work on cars, servicing and stuff, this is what I used to use. And it's come in so handy still to get that cartridge out. Otherwise, I would have been stuck here for ages. So finally, let's get that cleaned out in there, pop the new cartridge in, turn the water back on and test it. Obviously, water's back on. Most importantly, no more drippy. Just make sure that goes the other way. They've got the hot and cold the wrong way around. Cool, that's done. That's a spare cartridge. I'm going to give that to them. So if that one goes, I know, 17mm socket. Don't mess around with grips. Just get the job done. It's one of those things again, isn't it? It's where you think, oh, I'll try it. It doesn't work once, doesn't work twice. I had Stilson's on it. I got bloody Stilson's on it, and I still couldn't shift that cartridge. What did I have to do? I had to just spend 10 minutes to drive home, pick up the Halford's toolkit, 10 minutes drive back, whack it on, and it took me 5 minutes. We always do it. We all do it. Just do the long bit. It will make our life easier.